विग्रह हृदयना माणिक्यमौली स्फुरत् तारानायक शेखरा स्मितमुखी मापीनवक्षोरुहा पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकम् रक्तोत्पलम् बिभ्रति सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रह नक्षत्र दोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी गम गम विद्ये आले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नम् विध्वंसय विध्वंसय विनाशिनि रजनी सन्धे बन्धुभिनादे मानस्तोषे मानसवेगे शङ्खिनी चक्रिणी वज्रिणी गदिनी शूलिनी अपमृत्युविनाशिनी विश्वेश्वरी द्राविडी केशवदैते पशुपति सहिते धीममर्दिनि गमनी दामिनी शबरी विराटी वाजक्ती
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानि आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Welcome everyone on this auspicious day of Guru Purnima. Happy to see all of you join for the 15th day of the Global Festival of Yoga organized by Indica Yoga. We are very thankful to all of you who have been on this journey with us over the last 14 days. And we hope that you've been thoroughly enjoying and learning this experience and making the best use of all the dialogues, talks, and interactive sessions that have been hosted by Indica Yoga. Today, I'm extremely happy to introduce to you the speaker for this session, my teacher, Srimati Saraswathi Vasudevan. Saraswathi Vasudevan, whom we fondly call as Saras. She's an internationally renowned yoga teacher, trainer, and therapist. She has 2 master's degree in nutrition and psychology from the University of Madras, Chennai, and a postgraduate diploma in yoga studies from Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram in Chennai. She has close to 3 decades of study, practice, and teaching experience in the tradition of Sri Krishnamacharya, and has studied directly with Sri TKV Desikachar for over 17 years. In 2010, she founded YogaVahini, a specialized yoga training, therapy, and research center, along with her husband Sundar, with the aim of making the transformative and healing wisdom of yoga and personalized yoga therapy more accessible to everyone. YogaVahini has centers in Chennai and Hyderabad and presence in other cities of India like Delhi. In 2016, she also founded YogaVahini Foundation, a public charitable trust to bring yoga and yoga therapy to rural and underserved populations through yoga camps, trainings, and awareness programs. Currently, she's also serving on the voluntary board of directors of Yoga Alliance, the largest international yoga certifying and credentialing body, which provides strategic direction that advances the development and livelihood of yoga professionals across the world. I'm very lucky and privileged to have studied under her and to currently pursue yoga therapy. Saras, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you to the session. And this is the first of the series of sessions which is focused on yoga therapy. So it's great that you will be speaking on this theme for today. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Hari. I want to thank Indica Yoga for inviting me and for giving me the choice of what subject I wanted to talk about. And naturally, I chose yoga therapy. I was also looking at the other topics and found that there's not much on yoga therapy. Probably could start a discourse on that. It's my favorite topic, and therefore I don't know how far I can go with this in 1 hour, but I'm going to just try to navigate our path to probably look at or inquire into the very essence of healing through yoga. I want to start with a prayer so that we can quieten the mind and remove the distractions, at least temporarily for some time, and be fully present with each other. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram munina patanjalam pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Srimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha. So maybe we can just begin with some breathing, which is really the most important catalyst for healing through yoga. Sit with your back erect and just bring your awareness to your breath. Just become aware of your inhalation and exhalation. And as you exhale, as you lengthen the exhalation, empty the mind and relax the body. Keep your inhalation relaxed. Just allow the breath to flow in. And as you inhale, just become aware of your body, whatever is arising in your mind. And as you exhale, see if you can empty the mind and relax the body a little more. You may open your eyes and welcome to a session. For the longest time, when I studied with my teacher, Desikachar, and whenever he would do a consultation, he would see a student. We don't call them patients, even though people come for healing. Every time he would see a student, of course, one of us will be present to observe and then teach that student after the consultation. He would talk to the student. The first thing that he always did was establish a connection. He would never ask about the problem. Even though people are just bursting to share all the problems that they have, he would first make a connection. He would get some information in their consultation form that will help him to make that connection, whether it is which part of the country you're coming from, or what's the language you speak, or whatever that might be. And through that connection, he would navigate the process of consultation to listen to what they really have come for. And at the end of the consultation, he would draw up a very beautiful practice, a very simple practice. And he will explain to them that this teacher will teach you. And I might be a 22-year-old novice who hardly knows anything much, but he will really make them believe that this teacher knows a lot and this teacher can really help you. And then he would give the practice and he will say, just do this and something will happen. And I've heard this word, something will happen, a long time. And I used to wonder, what is the something will happen he's talking about? And then when it happened to me, when I had a very bad back pain, to the point like I can't even move a toe. If a mosquito sits on it, I can't even move the toe to shoo away the mosquito, that amount of pain. And I was told that I have to go for a surgery. And then I went back to sir and he gave a practice and he said something will happen. And I knew then what happens. You know how simple practices using the breath can transform your life. And I want to just share a couple of instances with my students that will give you a sense of what this essence of yoga therapy is about before we really go into the process and the tools and the other pragmatics of it. So I had a student when I was teaching very early in my journey. This girl used to come from very far away, take a train and take a bus and walk a long distance. She came with her grandmother. She was, I think, 7 or 8 years old or younger than that. And she came with depression. The child could not smile at all. And I would see her every Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. That was our time with each other. And she would come. I mean, she came for almost 3 years, very regularly. And slowly, I realized that all the effort I had to make in that 1 hour with her was to help her to smile. I wanted to see her smile. I don't know. Because I wanted to really help her touch that part of herself that is beyond this depression, beyond the impact of the medication and how the family looked at her and how people treated her and everything. And I just saw the child transform in 3 years. After 18 years, she wrote to me. I don't know how she tracked me. She wrote to me from US, and she is doing her master's in the US. And she said, thank you for that help with yoga. And for me, this was really what yoga therapy is all about. I had one more student who came when he was studying his 10th standard, preparing for his board exams. He had injured himself with playing volleyball, and he could hardly walk. He had to be carried into the yoga session. But his parents had to support him. And this child, again, he improved to the point that sir even told him, now you can go back and play your sport, but just be careful, do your practice. And after 10 years, he wrote to me saying, I now have a job, and thank you for the yoga therapy sessions that you gave me, because I never thought I would finish my 10th. I never thought I would be able to go back to school. Now, this is what really impacted me, along with my own illness and how I found recovery through that. I found there is some magic in this. People come with so many complicated problems. They've gone to so many doctors. They have a bunch of reports, like I also had. And then the yoga teacher gives them a very simple practice, just some simple breathing and movement, and a beautiful practice written down that's so specially designed for this person. A lot of focus on the breath, a lot of focus we pay to this person, understanding this person, and what can I give? Just how much time do they have? What can they do right now? And can I give a practice? And then lead the person through a progressive way of dealing with other issues as well, and also dealing with the deeper aspects of the mind. So yoga is not physical therapy. People are not just coming to learn some techniques to get rid of their back pain or headache. It is not problem to solution movement. It is something more than that. And that's what I am beginning to investigate, I would say. And this is what we try to explore through our teaching, through our training. Constantly there is this inquiry that what is it really that is making the change to people. So I will come to that in a bit. I want to first start with looking at this whole origin of yoga. And if Patanjali is a person who has given yoga, the text Yoga Sutra, he also gave Mahabhashya, the commentary to Panini's grammar. He also gave, he is believed to have given Charaka Samhita for healing the body. So if he is a yogi, he is a grammarian, he is also a healer. So yoga and healing can never be separated. And therefore the spiritual, philosophical dimension of yoga can never be separated from yoga therapy. And it is very important to remember that. Like we looking at the Siddha tradition of South India, the Siddhas were people who were yogis, and they also were healers. And the entire system of medicine that today is really combating the COVID situation, through our indigenous medicine, is really something very beautiful to look at. And understand that healing is not about curing a problem, curing a condition. It is about healing the person. And if we were to really look at the root of illness, it starts from the mind. And therefore, if illness has its roots in the mind, the solution also has to be coming from the mind. And it is all about working with the mind. And that's what I want to look at through yoga therapy. We are, of course, using the breath and the body, but what we are trying to impact at a deep level is our mind. So if my state of mind is good, then my sense of well-being is good. So my sense of well-being is essentially defined by my state of mind. Yeah. Illness comes as an obstacle on the path of yoga. Vyadhi is one of the obstacles. And so when the obstacle takes over, the mind is disturbed. The mind cannot think of anything else except the problem. And therefore it gets derailed from its possible progression in the direction of greater clarity, greater strength, greater wisdom, to really understand why we are here, who are we, what is our relationship with this world. These questions are very important to ask. And it is very important to ask these questions even when there is illness. So today with the COVID situation, I think we are trying to do a lot, trying to adapt to the very quick changes, adapting very, very quickly with technology, with sharing information across so many mediums. And in some sense, everybody, whether you don't need to be a doctor, you don't need to be a medical practitioner, somewhere we all are recognizing that there is a healer within each one of us. We want to help. We want to help people who are suffering. We want to help ourselves. We want to be able to have less anxiety. We want to have more clarity. We want to be healthier. We want to find ways to improve our immunity. We want to help people who are near and dear to heal themselves and to find their own inner strength. So in essence, every individual can be the healer. And yoga as a system of practice, a system of understanding ourselves, is something that will really help us to be this healer that we can be. And we need to be that for ourselves, for our family, for our community. And this means that we have to really understand how yoga therapy works. Yeah, because today we are looking at problems, and when we encounter a problem, we want quick solutions. And we think if I have this, and it will get rid of the problem and I will be fine. But we are realizing more and more that there is nothing like permanent cure for anything in life. Unless I really understand how to work with myself, unless I discover an inside-out process for healing, things are not going to change. We were looking at preventive care primarily, how yoga can prevent. And I want to go to Yoga Sutra again. The sutra in the second chapter, 2.16, says, Heyam Dukham Anagatam. We need to be able to anticipate and avoid future dukh, the problems that could come in the future. Right now, I am fine. I am confined to my home. I am practicing social distancing. I am washing my hands several times a day. I am ensuring that I am taking care of my diet, my lifestyle, whatever. But I really don't know. You know, it's closing in and closing in and closing in. And slowly we're beginning to see that it is so much part of our life that we cannot ignore. So what does Heyam Dukham Anagatam really mean? Apart from and along with taking care of my diet, taking care of my lifestyle, I also look at my state of mind. I try to understand how can I prevent illness or minimize the impact of illness or any disturbance of the mind by really taking care of the mind. Heyam Dukham Anagatam, because it's something that only I can do. You know, we can reach out to help in so many ways, but there is only some things that we can do. And what is that we have to look at? Now, looking at Heyam, the first thing is to recognize that there is pain, there is dukham. Even if I am not experiencing it right now, my health is fine, I'm doing well, I feel protected, I feel secure, I've done my asana pranayama. I still have to be able to open my heart to the pain of the world. To be able to see that those numbers that we see on the television or the newspaper are not just numbers, they're not just statistics. They're people in flesh and blood. They're people who have a life, they're people who have families, they're people who are part of a community, right? People who are our brothers and sisters. So I need to be able to open my heart to feel the dukkham of the other so that I can really work with this. I cannot just shut myself out of this whole thing. And I think some people are working right in the front line, people in the healing industry, people who are really working very hard. And then there are a lot of us who are working in the background, but really trying to understand what this whole thing is about. Heyam is that which I recognize that I can avoid. It is avoidable. Yeah. First is to recognize that there is dukkham and I can avoid it. So the first sutra of the first chapter is saying, Atha Yoga Anushasana. It's saying, now I am ready to look at it. Now I have recognized that every temporary measure that I take to protect myself or protect the people I care for is not enough. I need lasting solutions. And therefore, I have to take charge of my life. I have to really take responsibility for the way I am living my life. I have to start looking at everything more deeply. So when I start looking at everything, I start first looking at what is disturbing me. Is it pain? Is it breathing difficulty? Is it all these different symptoms? Is it anxiety? I look at all these symptoms. And then I start looking at some of the associated factors which we don't pay attention to. Am I eating properly? Am I eating food that I'm able to digest? Am I eating because I'm hungry or not eating because I'm bored, I'm watching some Netflix movie? So am I really paying attention to my hunger? Am I really paying attention to the quality of the food I'm eating, how I'm eating it, the quantity of food, and when I'm eating it? I have to start looking at these things. My lifestyle, my sleep, my rhythm, my biological rhythm. If am I just staying awake? Am I spending too much time on Zoom, and ending up end of the day too tired but highly active mind that cannot rest completely? We all are going through this. The entire human race, many ways, except those people who are in secluded places, who don't have access to so much technology, who are saved. Rest of us are going through this whole journey. Yeah, I look at all these associated factors that could be directly or indirectly creating problems now or later. Like yesterday, we had a call with a team of Ayurvedic doctors and yoga teachers. And this doctor was saying some people are asymptomatic. Some people have not done the test, but there are people in the family who are tested positive and you're fine. And then suddenly it hits you. We don't know when it will hit, when the symptoms will come. And particularly if people are taking medication for some of the chronic conditions like diabetes or hypertension or cardiac conditions. I'm not trying to scare, but I'm trying to see that there are so many other aspects that we need to start looking at. How are we living our life? How am I feeling in this moment? And moment to moment, how is my sense of well-being? We also have to look at how this whole situation is impacting our life at so many levels that we become so distracted. Our attention span has reduced to like a few seconds probably. Maybe you need to do some deep breathing to really stay connected to what I'm saying. Otherwise the mind will distract. Yeah, that's what is happening to us. So looking at how it is impacting our relationships, our work, even some of the things that we have been doing, how we have got derailed. So there is a pervasive impact of this problem that's happening to all of us. But if I really see, and many of us are already seeing that, there is a hidden bone in this because there's a sudden change. And any sudden change forces us to stop, pause, and take a deep look at what is happening to us. So we start looking at all these aspects. We also have to look at what my teacher always used to say, the problem of the problem. He says, somebody has a knee pain. Maybe the pain on a scale of 0 to 10 is 5 out of 10. But this person has a dance performance or has to go on a trekking expedition and is so disturbed because of this 5 out of 10 knee pain. It's fairly recent. But because it is impacting me, because of the fear of what's going to happen, will I be able to dance? Will I be able to trek? Yeah, so how is it impacting us? I have to be able to ask, how is this situation impacting me directly or indirectly? So this is all about the Heyam, the first step. The recognition that there is pain, there is suffering, and I can do something about it. So it is at some level empowering. It gives me some level of control that I can do something about it. And this is also one of the definitions of yoga that Krishnamacharya gave. He called yoga swatantra. You know, something that helps you to find your own anchorage and your own tools within you, so that you can be less and less dependent on external agents. Then, when I start looking at all these factors, I start understanding there are underlying causes, what we call the hetu. Now, some level of the hetu can be immediately related to as a cause and effect relationship. We say maybe bad food, bad lifestyle, stress, many other factors, genetic factors, whatever that might be, which we call the nimitta karana, something that I'm able to attribute a cause-effect relationship and saying it's because of this is happening. So there is a pandemic and the coronavirus is everywhere, so it will impact me. Yeah, and it has impacted me. That is a nimitta karana. We also have to look at the deeper cause, what we call the upadana karana. The deeper cause is who I am, my nature, my constitution, my swabhava, my inherent nature. There are many things that's part of me that makes me be affected or respond to a situation very differently from other people. So I have to understand what are the deeper causes. I also have to look at my support system and how I am part of the support system. That how can we minimize, reduce creating problems for each other so that we can support each other's healing and moving towards well-being. So it is not an individual's job. We see that we are part of a collective. We are not a separate entity. We have to be able to see that. And that is called the sahakara karana. So you go into the causes. It's not possible for us to identify all the causes for our problem. We will be able to understand to some extent and deal with it. Like Ayurveda says, nidana parivarjanam. You understand the nidana, the causes, and eliminate it. That's the first step, to be able to understand what is creating indigestion, what is creating disturbance, what is not helping me to sleep, identify that and remove it to the extent possible. If we know something, we can do it. Yeah? Then coming to the Hanam, the goal. What do I really want? I want a better sense of well-being. I want everybody to be happy and healthy. I want all of us to be able to deal with this situation with courage and clarity, so that we don't continue to create the cycle of suffering for ourselves and for each other. So Hanam is really to identify what can be removed and to remove that, to minimize, to simplify our life. Maybe it's a great opportunity for us. I think like never before, we are beginning to see that this could be potentially an opportunity for transformation of the human consciousness itself. So we have to be very clear and inquire into what do we really want and seek that and work towards it and sustain that inquiry and action towards it. What those actions are is the fourth step. Patanjali talks about upaya, that which will take me closer to my goal of a better sense of health, well-being, more clarity, more inner strength, better emotional resilience, whatever we might look at. How can I do that? Through simple practices. Asana, of course, with conscious breathing. Every little principle that we use in asana practice, how we coordinate the breath with the movement and how to breathe in a way that the mind can quieten down, how to move in a way that you're not creating injury to the body and you're opening up the channel so that the prana can flow very well, so the digestion and the cardiac functions and the hormonal functions and the nervous system can get balanced, everything can slowly fall back into a state of balance. But for illness, we would never understand how we can really consciously and unconsciously create so much of imbalances and separation from the wisdom that nature brings to us. How do we bring back that balance? So illness can be an opportunity for us to bring back this balance, and therefore illness itself is a very loud signal to tell us where we are going wrong. And so it can be a boon in some sense. Now, the upayam with asana is one of the primary tools we use in yoga therapy, because most people are not ready for meditation or even seated pranayama. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of discomfort that one is not able to do the practices that a regular yoga practitioner can do. So what we teach is based on what functions we want to achieve for this person. So we collect all the information, and then we try to understand, what do I really want for this person? Okay, what are these functions? And based on the functions, we choose the asana. So this is a individual oriented, function oriented approach. It's not structural. We're not thinking in terms of asana. We're thinking in terms of what function we want to achieve. And it is individual specific, not disease specific, because the same condition is presenting itself in so many different ways in different individuals, and different stages they are experiencing the same problem differently. And it is true of any condition for that matter, if you really look deeply within. So we try and understand what is the postures that we need to choose based on the function. Then we adapt the posture for that individual so that they can do it comfortably, and slowly find ways to reduce the pain, reduce the anxiety, and then start investigating the deeper cause and dealing with it. So this process of yoga therapy, as we begin with asana, with a lot of focus on breathing. So we say, yes, pranayama, because we are breathing all the time. If you are doing a 20-minute practice, you're at least taking 100 conscious breaths, and every breath counts towards healing. Every breath takes your body to a better sense of well-being, takes your mind to greater clarity, lesser anxiety, and whatever that might be clouding the mind. So the process you begin to see as we engage with the breath more and more deeply starts impacting the mind. People come back and say, what used to bother me so much does not bother me so much now. And I really know what to do, and I know I can overcome it. That is when we know that the person is really experiencing yoga swatantra. So my teacher always used to say that when somebody comes into a class, if it's a 1-hour session, you have to be able to give them the experience of yoga. In that 1 hour, they should be able to experience a quiet mind, at least temporarily free from anxiety, free from pain, to the extent possible, so that one can experience that, I have done something. Somebody is teaching me, but I have done some movement, I have done some breathing, and I have worked with my mind, anchoring it to my breath and my body, and I am experiencing this change, which is very, very fundamental. So that person takes ownership. As a teacher or therapist, you might feel great when somebody comes back and tells you that, you changed my life and all that, but it's not true. It is good for our asmita. Sometimes it's not good for our asmita. But I think to remember that that person has done something to change their life. And so, which means that yoga is not like a pill. You can't go to a teacher and the teacher talks beautifully. You can listen to the teacher, feel good and come back. That's not enough. Maybe you feel temporarily you're feeling better. But the real work is through practice, which means I have to fundamentally be able to shift something with my mind. So this is what is about the essence of yoga therapy. What is really the essence of yoga therapy? It starts with your relationship with your breath, your relationship with probably the teacher, the teachings, the practice, And that relationship is infused with a certain belief that this, what I am doing, is going to help me. Shraddha, we call it, and a deep inner conviction. And the role of a teacher is to be able to awaken that in the heart of the person who has come to you. And it's not easy. People come with a lot of doubt, very skeptical, not ready to commit, not sure that they can commit. So they come with a lot of obstacles. Like we all started, yeah, and it comes back. It keeps coming back again and again. Can I do it? It's not going to happen. The problem seems so complex. How is it going to get better? So Shraddha is really the secret ingredient that everybody has. We all have it, but often it could be blocked, clouded because of many things. Primarily the mind and the information that we carry. The kind of ideas and beliefs that we hold about ourselves, about the problem, and that can actually keep us from really exploring the tools of yoga at greater depth and intensity, even to sustain. So people often come with a problem. We do something to reduce the pain and relax them. A few days, they have vanished because the problem has gone away. Until another problem comes back, they won't come back. But we don't see that this is only a temporary solution, and we need to work at a much deeper level, at so many levels. And which means that the mind has to be ready to make certain fundamental changes in the way we live our life. We have to look at our diet. There is no other way, because the food, annam, is that which makes my physical body. So everything that I eat is what my physical body is made up of. That is a connection with the food. And therefore, if I don't pay attention to my food, yoga therapy is not going to work. That's where perhaps we really struggle with people sustaining with yoga practice, because it's so difficult for people to make lasting, sustainable changes with their diet and lifestyle. You know, the way we allocate time for sleep and rest and balancing all this, finding time for practice. 20 minutes, can people give 20 minutes every day to do their own practice? It's the most vital thing. And it is so simple. We don't have to stand on our head. We don't have to do contorted postures. We don't use more than 30 asanas in yoga therapy, in different permutations, combinations, different modifications. Fantastic. It's like an art form. And when we bring the right combination, it's like a surgery. Krishnamacharya called yoga therapy Ashastra Shastra Chikitsa. It is a surgery without instruments. Shastra Chikitsa Ashastra. Yeah. That is the power of yoga therapy, because it really takes you to the deepest causes for the problem. We begin to discover that there are deeper patterns of thinking, beliefs we hold about ourselves, about our relationship with the world, that needs to shift. That needs to be sometimes cleansed, burnt, weakened, snapped from. And this is something that we will begin to discover only when we stay with an alternate lifestyle. You know, something that's healthier, more wholesome. And it is not easy, because habits die hard. That's what they say. But the good news is yoga is also a habit. Yoga is also samskara. I can develop this new habit of the way I work with my body, you know, deepening my self-awareness, really developing the habit of self-regulation through self-awareness, changing my diet, changing my lifestyle, not temporarily, but permanently, so that I really can discover a better sense of well-being. And at the level of the mind, to be able to move from a distracted mind that gets caught up in everything out in the world and brings back a lot of debris that we are not able to digest. So we land up with indigestion at so many different levels, creating more and more problems. So a mind that can be more focused, you know, the power of ekagrata, the power of a mind that can stay with one thing for a length of time. That mind is the mind that can heal us, because it will help us understand. Remember, healing is not finding permanent solutions. Healing is, it is something that we have to be engaged with all the time, because there is nothing that we can call permanent or perfect in Prakriti. Yeah, Prakriti by nature itself is perfect. And so yoga therapy is a process of attuning ourselves to the inherent intelligence of the body, inherent intelligence of the breath, and through the breath to be able to help the prana to flow freely. And the prana has its own intelligence to also impact the mind. And then the mind has its intelligence to discover what I really need to do so that I can free myself from dukkha. And when I discover that, these secret ingredients, then I will be able to help another person. And this is really our effort through yoga therapy. It's really about working with the mind. It might seem that we are doing a lot of work with the body, but it is to impact the mind. And the mind is impacted, then there can be lasting solutions. Even if I don't have solutions, I have a direction to move towards. And that direction takes me to experience less and less dukkham, less and less suffering, more and more clarity, more and more understanding of the nature of reality, through which I will be able to deal with dukkha better and better. So now I'm open to some questions if you have.
Thank you so much, Saras. It was a very refreshing to listen to you again. A lot of it, at least for me, since we are also listening to you in the yoga therapy classes, but from the comments also, it's quite clear that they say everything is so clear and there's a lot of clarity in what was being listened to. That's something I'm hearing. And just for all the listeners and participants here, we have a Q&A forum and we have some time to take in questions. So you can post the questions in the Q&A forum and we'll take it up. We have a few questions actually. One is it possible to get a remote consultation for yoga therapy? Is that something that is possible?
Absolutely. Now, I think COVID has taught us that we can do a lot online. We have started to teach, Hari, you have also been teaching. We have started to teach a lot of classes online. And in our training, sometimes we have a student in one city and the teacher is in another city. And then we have other trainees who are observing the session who are in maybe even other countries. And we are able to really work with this. There are some limitations, technological limitations are there, and then it's not easy sometimes to observe the breath, to listen to the breath the way we can when somebody is right in front of you. But I think we are edging towards using ways in which we can do this better and better. And all of us, like, you pin the video and you can actually see the person very close to you. And you watch so carefully, like you want to see whether they're inhaling or exhaling. Are they holding the breath? Are they really inhaling and they need to inhale? We can see all that. So we are able to do that with thanks to all the technological advancement. But we also miss the one-on-one direct connection, which we are waiting to go back to. But this has opened up the doors. People don't have to travel long distance. We don't have to increase the carbon footprint. We can practice yoga at home. We can learn, we can teach at home. So that's a huge opening.
And thank you, Saras. So the next question is from Venkatesh. He has actually two questions. One is whether yoga therapy can be learned online. And secondly, whether diseases like or conditions like diabetes, can it be addressed through yoga therapy?
So the second question, all conditions can be addressed through yoga therapy. We are not addressing the condition, whatever the condition may be, we are addressing the individual. So let's remember that we are working with the individual, with the condition. So it really doesn't matter what the condition is, what stage the condition is. That doesn't matter. What we can do, yoga therapy, we will be able to do. Yeah. The first question, can we learn yoga therapy training online? We are trying to adapt. In fact, the next therapy module is completely online. But the confidence for me is these are students who have been coming for a direct module session, and they have been learning. So we know each other very well. So we can do something online. The difficulty I have, let me say, when I'm doing an online session, when students have their mics muted and their cameras off, we don't know what's happening behind that. Really the teaching is how is what I'm saying constructed in the mind of that individual. That's what matters. And how do I even know how somebody is understanding something as subtle as working with the mind when we are remotely functioning and we cannot even see the student? So there are limitations. So we could do a combination of both. We are trying to see how we can use online forums for teaching. But I'm not ready to say yet that we can completely train online.
Yeah. Actually, there are quite a few questions relating to different conditions, but I think I still remember the first time when we started learning with you also, you constantly encouraging us to look at the person than the condition. I think that's so critical.
Yeah.
So you have to identify with the disease or the condition as such. Yeah. So the next question is again, how many days does it take to heal ourselves through yoga therapy? So.
Okay, before I come to this question, I want to just add one more thing. When we are using asana as a primary tool for therapy, we need to be able to observe the individual to understand where the restrictions are in the body, what postures to choose, how to modify them. And online, it's very difficult. We have to keep asking the student to change their position, to observe more carefully, and we can get very limited information through which we have to be able to offer them a practice. So there are limitations. How long will it take to heal yourself through yoga therapy? A lot of people ask that. It depends a lot on the person, the condition, the severity of the condition, how long they have had it, the other factors, the support system, everything has to be taken into account. Yeah. What I usually ask is, how long have you had this problem? And suppose somebody tells me, I've had this problem for 10 years. I will tell them it won't take 10 years for you to heal. That much I can tell you. But there are some things that we can really tell you, that if you have a certain kind of pain, if I see the person, I can say in 1 week, your pain will go away or your pain will come down to this level. We can say that with some level of certainty, provided they practice correctly what we are teaching and we have given them the correct practice. Yeah. So all that also matters. It is a process. I think it's a process that we have to do.
Next question is from Nishant. So actually there are two questions in it. One is about, does yoga have a view on spotting injuries and rehabilitation? And second is connected to the point you made about food, how important food is. So he's asking, when it comes to food, it looks very context specific. So how do we choose a proper dietitian? Because Ayurvedic and modern dietitian seems to be giving fixed formulas. So how to go about it?
Yeah. So the first question on sports rehabilitation, of course, my star student came with a sports injury. Later, his brother also came with the same injury. So yeah, definitely yoga therapy helps with healing. And this child should have gone for a surgery. And he didn't need to go for a surgery. Just with yoga therapy, he was able to work. And then he moved on to Shaktikrama, strengthening the body so that he can go back to the sport. Coming to the next question, and it's individual specific. We try to understand what kind of impact the sport has on the body, because it's a anga bhanga sadhana. All sports except a few are anga bhanga sadhana. They impact different parts of the body in very unequal ways, creating imbalances. So yoga, being a sarva anga sadhana, can rectify and bring back balance. Coming to the second question, what is it?
It was about how to choose a correct dietitian, because they seem to be giving fixed formulas.
Okay, so I studied modern nutrition for 5 years. And then when I started studying Ayurveda, I gave up modern nutrition because, with all due respect to modern nutrition and the people practicing it, I see it is so limited because First of all, I was all the time taught the proportion of what I have to eat. This will impact this. It's always about taking something in that will fill up some gaps inside me, make me whole. I have to take something from outside to make me whole. But Ayurveda looks at first your digestion. So first correct your digestion, because whatever the best food in the world you eat, if you're not able to digest that food, it doesn't help you. You can't assimilate it. It can even become toxic for you. So I love the Ayurvedic approach, and yoga therapy is based on Ayurvedic approach. These two are sister sciences that very well complement each other. So you try to understand the digestive capacity of that individual, what they can digest, and what is their constitution, what dosha is an imbalance, and individual specific suggestions. We have some general suggestions that we can offer, but more individual specific, I would rather send them to an Ayurvedic practitioner. It's beyond the scope of my practice.
So I know it's such a different approach, because when we started yoga therapy training also, when I met our Ayurveda doctor, he said, before I suggest anything, can you eat home cooked food for 3 months, then come back to me. That itself will resolve. So I think it was a very eye-opener kind of a thing.
Yeah. Today we are doing that, home cooked food. Yeah, wonderful.
So before I go to the next question, since the earlier question was about sports injury, next Saturday we are having Vijay Thruji coming to speak. He is a yoga teacher working closely with sports persons. So those of you are interested. Archana Karthikeyan is asking, what are the few things we can do consciously to direct the mind towards healing of an injury? I spend a lot of time questioning the injury, wishing the injury didn't happen, etc. But it's when I accept it, am I able to begin the healing journey?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the healing, actually, the deeper healing begins with acceptance of what is, right? And the whole understanding of yoga is beginning from that premise that when I accept that there is pain, when I'm completely in acceptance of the situation, is when I can find the clarity to know what I have to do. So that's the first step. Some of the basic guidelines that can help is using the breath. Yeah, using the breath, and you direct the breath to the part that needs healing, that is experiencing pain. And if the pain is not too much, if the pain is too much, you have to direct your attention away from the part of pain. So depending on how that person is experiencing the pain, their own strength and how they're experiencing it, we will be able to work with the breath. They say wherever the mind goes, the prana goes. Yeah, so using your mind, directing your mind, and helping to relax those parts of the body, so you improve the blood flow, improve the prana flow, and the healing can happen very quickly. You don't have to stop your practice even when you have serious injuries. You have to learn to adapt your practice so that you can do something to quickly heal yourself.
Thank you, Saras. Next question is from Saibal Chakrabarti. For the COVID issue, can we recommend Shatkriya? Can we recommend Satkriya? SATH, Satkriya.
Yeah, so like Ayurveda, I would say it depends on the individual, what you offer. Now, in our tradition, Krishnamacharya never taught any kriyas except Kapalabhati and Trataka. Yeah, so that's what we practice. So I don't know something about what I have not learned, so I can't talk about that. But really, we have to look at even the medicine and the techniques. If somebody with a pitta prakriti, a lot of heat in the body, or aggravated vayu, especially after summer, the rainy season has set in, the vayu has already increased during the summer. And this is also dependent on the constitution of the individual, how they are experiencing the problem. We cannot have one solution. It has to be adapted to the individual. We use the breath, but how we use the breath, what techniques will depend on the individual. We could have general guidelines for mild cases. Moderate to severe cases has to be individualized.
Okay. Next question is Deborah Huber. She's saying that she's trying to focus a lot on these sessions and trying to learn as much as she can. But she's also feeling quite stressed and says that I have already had some degeneration of the spine. And how much recovery can one expect for spinal degeneration at a later stage? I do practice asana, but I have seen I have a lack of depth in other aspects.
Yeah. So what yoga practice very beautifully helps us to understand that everything is changing. Yeah. When I'm 50, I cannot go back to the spine I had at 20. But if I had been practicing from very young age, I would have a much healthier spine. Yeah. And for me, I was lucky that I had an injury when I was 25 that helped me to develop a healthy spine later. So they say you are as young or as healthy as your spine. Okay. So I think it's important for us to understand that we have to start from where we are and what is that we can do. Reduce pain, improve the flexibility, improve the strength and the alignment of the other parts of the body. And also take care of diet, lifestyle, our posture, how long we are sitting in front of the computer, many things that will help to take care of ourselves. You know, anything from not having enough water to drink because we are so engrossed with our work or sitting for too long can actually put a lot of pressure on the spine. And then, of course, the mind and the stress and anxieties around uncertainties can also have an impact. We'll have to take everything into account. So I'm not trying to say we can reverse something completely, but we can do the best to not let the condition progress too fast, too much, and also to some extent reverse the problem. That's possible.
The next question is from Anil Kumar. It's about the process of yoga therapy. So he's asking, in general, what is the duration of yoga therapy? Does it happen on a daily basis?
The practice has to be every day.
Yeah, I think maybe he might be referring to
the training,
whether the teacher, therapist, and the student has to be meeting on a daily basis. Because the question is framed as, is it on a daily basis? What's the duration of a therapy?
Yeah, everyday practice. No Saturday, Sunday holiday for yoga therapy. And I won't call it yoga therapy. Just you're practicing an appropriate yoga practice for yourself. Something. Even when I say yoga practice, I'd say asana, pranayama practice, maybe some meditation, some chanting, and it also includes your diet and lifestyle changes. So these are all the practices that we try to put in place. And a practice is a practice. Initially, you may have gaps, you may have difficulty to find time to do it, and slowly it becomes a habit. And it is something that we have to do every day. As teachers or therapists, we see the student at least once a week. For some people, we see more frequently initially till they establish a good practice. We need 3 or 4 sessions minimum to even understand as a therapist, is this the right practice for the student? Because I need to understand the student to be able to give the right practice. And then over a period of time, maybe 3 months of weekly classes with everyday practice, 3 months of bi-weekly classes with everyday practice, then maybe the next 6 months, once a month. Now I have students who've been coming for 14, 15 years. They come once a year sometimes because they already know what to do.
Yeah.
They know what to do when some problems come. They only come when they don't know how to deal with it. So they have become their own teacher. They have become their own healer. And that is what yoga therapy is all about, Swatantra.
Thanks, Sarah. I think as a student also, because we are so used to prescriptive ways in other spaces, if somebody comes with a pain or something, the first response is to, oh, I should design something to address it before. But to recalibrate, to just understand is so important.
Yeah. We do give a prescription in that sense. We do give a nice practice, but we have to see that the human body, mind, everything is changing all the time. So you can't just stick to one practice that somebody gave you 10 years ago. Right. Your body has changed. Everything has changed. So the practice has to evolve along with you. That is very important. It has to be progressive.
Yeah. Next question is from Rajesh. He's asking, can we use acupressure or other therapy along with yoga therapy?
Yeah, I think yoga therapy is one system that is so holistic and so complete, but it can also work along with every other system, whether it is mainstream conventional medicine or alternate systems or complementary. It works beautifully with any other system. Sometimes we may have to understand how that system works so that we know when to do the practice, what kind of advice to give. So there is no conflict between one system and the other. That's very important.
Okay. Next question, I don't have a name, but the question is, any thoughts on yoga therapy for addiction?
So, like I said, if addiction is a habit, it's a very deeply entrenched habit that at some level is giving me pleasure, therefore I am holding on to it, but at many other levels it's causing me pain. I can develop another habit, which is yoga practice. And when that habit becomes stronger, this habit will weaken. So we see that with people who come with, they want to give up smoking. So my teacher always used to say, never tell people any conditions. Don't tell them you have to stop this, you have to stop this before you can start yoga. So just give them a practice. And over a period of time, if this practice is strong, then that practice will become weaker, or that habit will become weaker. And it works very well for addiction, because there is a detoxification happening in the system, and you recognize that you don't want to toxify it more and more. When the cloud of the mind lifts, the tamas comes down. The tamas is the indulgent energy, that which keeps me attached to that which I know gives me pain, and I keep going back to it. When tamas comes down with good breathing, pranayama, and good asana, with some diet changes and all that, naturally the attachment to that will also begin to come down. But a lot of support is required by the teacher and the family.
Thanks, Saraswati. I'm just reminded of one thing you mentioned in class right now, that this addiction can also be addiction to our own work and a lot of simpler things in life also.
Absolutely.
And these days we see so many people struggling, including myself. Sometimes I over focus just on work and have to really step back, and it's so difficult to,
Yeah.
What is the idea of addiction?
We see that also as an addiction, and how that can also cause problems.
Yeah.
Maybe we all are getting into some Zoom addictions now.
Okay. Yeah, Deborah is asking, I think you mentioned quite a few Sanskrit words in between, Hem and so she couldn't catch them. She was asking, is there a book or a website where I can refer to some of these terms you were using? I could not understand it fully.
Okay. I could share some articles probably which are there on my website that will help you understand this whole process. Heyam, so it's the 4 noble truths of the Buddha. The 4 noble truths are, the first step is there is suffering. The second step is the suffering has a cause. The third step is suffering can end. And fourth is there are ways in which we can end it. So Heyam is the first step. There is suffering. Hari, you want to type it out?
Yeah, I'll just type it.
The hetu, heya hetu is there is a cause for the suffering. So investigate the cause at many levels, including the body, mind, environment, everything. Hanam is the goal. What is that I want to end? There is a goal. And upayam is that which will take me towards the goal. The means or the tools and the process. So these 4, this is the model that we use for yoga therapy. Of course, we use different frameworks. We use the Panchamaya Kosha to understand the individual at many levels. But this is the primary process that we look at to yoga therapy.
Thanks, Saraswati.
It's from the 2nd chapter of Yoga Sutra.
So the next question is, again, there's no name here. How do I keep Shraddha alive? Sometimes illness takes over either physical pain or mental pain. So how do I keep the Shraddha alive?
Yeah, it's a question. One is practice itself will help. The other is study. When we read about people who have extraordinary level of Shraddha, extraordinary level of inner strength to achieve things which are unbelievable for the normal mind, these things can awaken the Shraddha. So working with a teacher who has deep shraddha in what they're doing, that's also very important. And really to know that my shraddha has become weaker, I have to do something now. Not just buckle under that pressure of not able to connect with our shraddha, because it can be mridu, madhya, adimatra. It can be weak, it can be moderate, it can be intense, and for different people at different times it varies. Patanjali says, or choose Ishvara Pranidhana. Trust a higher force and surrender to that, and draw your wisdom or clarity from meditating on that.
Nita Jose, she says, I'm a modern medicine doctor. During this time of pandemic, I have been more into meditation, but it's very difficult to unlearn the things that I have already attained through my degree. But there's no question after that, so I'm guessing she's asking what to do about it.
Unlearning what?
But it is very difficult to unlearn the things that I have already attained through my degree.
No, I think every system of knowledge is valuable. We don't have to drop something to hold something else. We need to just learn to hold it lightly. And to know that this is not the only way of looking at reality. There are other ways of looking at reality. There are parallel realities. Yoga is a different science. It's a different system. Ayurveda is a completely different system. I don't have to view it through the lens of modern medicine. Well, that has a framework. This has a different framework. If I can hold both lightly, I think it will be fine. You don't have to unlearn.
One last question. I think there are two more questions. One question from Deborah. Is there any prerequisite to becoming a yoga therapist, or are there different levels that we can pursue? Are there any age limits? So I think, how do you become a yoga therapist? I think that's the basic question.
Yeah. So one of my teachers, Raghu, always used to quote what Desikachar would say, and I've heard Desikachar also say that a lot, that if you know that this person really cares for another human being, they're able to connect with the pain of another human being, such a person is ready to be a yoga therapist. But that's not enough. Yeah, I really want to help somebody, but am I able to commit to a certain practice and discipline with my own life? Am I able to stay with the study and the process of self-inquiry so that I work with myself more and more? And that way I can help somebody better. So it is, I would say, for me at least, it's a lifetime commitment, but it is a long-term commitment. It requires continuous study, it requires practice, it requires some level of disciplining our life, ourselves, and it requires the ability to move towards a more reflective mind and work with an inquiring mind, an open mind, and being open to the pain of the other is very important.
Thank you, Saras. I think that is also one of the great learnings all of us who are your students have also got, that we have to take it slow and consistently. Even our teacher training was for 2 years, yoga therapist for 3 years, which in a context where we can get a certificate in 1 month, 2 months is quite a thing. So thank you so much. I'm sorry if I missed out on any questions, but we are also running out of time. So if there are more questions, you can send them. I think we'll pass it on to Saras to maybe respond to later. And over to Anuradha ji for some announcements.
Namaste Saraswati ji, and I think that was a very profound session which was laid down in such a simple manner that everybody can take very practical tips for themselves for all occasions really. It was not just meant for people in trouble, but I think what you shared also had a lot of value for preventing the onslaught of something, of a negative situation. So thank you very much for that sharing from your vast experience. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to introduce the next session of the day. We have a fascinating topic on yoga and science of consciousness by Dr. Subhash Kak, And Subhash Kak is an acclaimed scholar practitioner who's been working on very innovative topics. He has coined the term quantum neural computing. This in itself will give you an idea of the diverse backgrounds that he has dealt with, and that he has also been able to find these connections. And I think the theme that he's going to be talking on, the science of consciousness, is going to be one such binder that will help us understand many different aspects of our world and of ourselves. So I think with these words, I will let Hariji continue. But please make yourselves available for this evening's session. It is a session not to miss, like every one of our sessions are. So Sarasji, heartfelt dhanyavada and pranams to you on Guru Purnima Day. I'm sure there are a lot of your students who are extremely indebted for the transformative benefits they have felt by coming into contact with you and your satsanga in general. So thank you very much for accepting to do this for us.
Thank you, Anuradhaji. Saras, just to conclude our session, many are asking how to reach you, how to contact you and to learn with you.
We have a website, www.yogavahini.com. You can also email to YogaVahiniChennai@gmail.com.
YogaVahini Chennai. I'll just type it in the chat box for everyone. And any parting thought, message to all the viewers here, Saras, today?
I'd say really find some time to be with yourself and to quieten the mind. You know how it's very difficult to absolutely experience a quiet mind, but something that we do at least a few minutes every day to just sit quietly. It need not be meditation or pranayama or asana or anything apart from all this. To just be with yourself, so you can deepen your awareness of where you are right now and be completely in tune with what is happening right now. I think that's very important. And it could be through walking on the terrace, it could be through cooking a delicious meal for yourself and the family mindfully. It could be through just sitting quietly with somebody and doing some breathing online. Could be anything. Yeah, so it's very important that we start taking care of ourselves more so we can take care of others better.
Thank you so much, Saras, for such a wonderful session. I really enjoyed listening to you and taking questions on behalf of the participants. And to all those who are listening, if you would like to re-listen to this talk or want to watch other videos, Indica Yoga YouTube channel is the place to go to. And you can also visit the indicayoga.com website for next week's events. So thank you for joining today. And thank you, Saras.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Best wishes.
Thank you.